This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Unfortunately, life doesn't come with a user manual, so when it's not working for you, it's normal to feel stuck. Navigating any of life's challenges can make you feel unsure, whether it's a career change, a new relationship, or becoming a parent. Therapists are trained to help you figure out the cause of challenging emotions and learn productive coping skills, which makes therapy the closest thing to a guided tour of the complex engine called you. I'm a huge supporter of regular therapy. I've gone weekly for a while now. It's a great way to check in with myself, talk about my goals, anything that I really want to work through that week. As the world's largest therapy service, BetterHelp has matched 3 million people with professionally licensed and vetted therapists available 100% online. Plus, it's affordable. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to match with a therapist. If things aren't clicking, you can easily switch to a new therapist anytime. It couldn't be simpler. No waiting rooms, no traffic, no endless searching for the right therapist. Learn more and save 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/maze. That's betterhelp.com/MAYS.
Let's take a second to hear about one of the podcasts that you should absolutely put on your listening list. Take a listen to the Audible original, The League. This new podcast is co-hosted by Super Bowl champion, 5-time Pro Bowler, and legendary smack talker Richard Sherman, as well as sports broadcaster and rising star Taylor Rooks. These two gifted commentators bring voice to The League, an 8-part docuseries about the most bizarre, inspirational, and unlikely stories connected to America's favorite sport, pro football. You won't want to miss these untold stories spanning from the 1940s through the present day. Each story goes beyond simply football and offers equal parts history, entertainment, and social commentary. Go beyond the game and dive deep into the vaults of professional football's incredibly storied and detailed history. Go to audible.com/theleague to listen now.
This is the Athletic Football Show.
Welcome to the Athletic Football Show. I'm Robert Mays, and joining me tonight is my good friend Nate Tice. Nate, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing very well. Now I'm trying to think of stuff to say right away because I already got made fun of for my meandering thoughts to start each podcast. And I'm aware that I do it. It's because I sit here for the 2 minutes as we're doing the intro, listening to Beller give an ad read and just kind of thinking, lost my thoughts. The last thing I think of before this podcast starts. It's a great day of NFL Sunday. NFL is awesome. Don't get me wrong. Is that my closet door is open. And that was the last thought that went through my head. And it's welcome to the Athletic Football Show. So I'm doing great. Can you tell me I had a nice little shot of espresso before this episode too? That was
we have to stay up and watch the White Lotus finale after we finish recording this, my fiance and I. So she's been planning for it for 6 hours. And I also had to just drink a cold brew. I just drank a Stumptown cold brew at 10:45. I'm levitating right now. So you guys are about to see something. We're gonna rip it here over the next hour or so. A lot of stuff to dig into today. We're gonna talk about the Lions' big win, talk about big day for Jalen Hurts and what that might mean for the MVP conversation. Purdymania happening out there in San Francisco. Just very excited about that. Talk about the NFC and AFC playoff pictures, just kind of where things stand. Kind of go rapid fire through some of the games today that might affect the playoff pictures in both conferences. Let's start with the game we just watched, though. Nate, not sure if you're aware of this, but Justin Herbert's pretty good. I've
said this before on the show. I have the same note. I think that Justin Herbert guy is pretty damn good, and I think he was willing to try some stuff tonight. I've seen some Justin Herbert creative plays. Had a Freudian slip right there. Some creative plays right there. That was pretty. That was a great performance from Justin Herbert, and really the Chargers defense. We'll get to it in a sec, but that Justin Herbert guy, he can play some football. He can sling that pigskin around.
What he did under pressure today, just seemingly every time someone was in his face. This is a skill that he has had for a very long time, and there have been some iffy moments with this over the last few weeks as their offensive line has crumbled even further than it had over the last couple of years. Losing your right tackle, your left tackle, and your starting center last week. They couldn't even operate against the Raiders. But even in the first half of the season, when they weren't rolling and when he was banged up with a rib injury, if you look at how few sacks he was taking compared to how often he was getting pressured, his ability to not make bad plays, horrific plays, and to skirt around pressure in the pocket, keep plays alive. It's a combination of a lot of stuff for me. I think it's processing, athletic ability, which for a guy his size is super rare. The way that he can move and manipulate the pocket for somebody that's 6'6" is I've never seen anybody except for a guy we might talk about a little bit later who can do it. Like him and Lawrence at that size are really the first guys I've seen that can do that. Josh Allen, 6'5". We've had the tall quarterback conversation a million different times, but watching him do that is pretty remarkable. And then the strength to get some throws off. So today the Dolphins blitzed him, according to Next Gen Stats, on 43.6% of his dropbacks. He was pressured on 31% of his dropbacks in this game, and he finished 39 of 51 for 367 yards. And that doesn't even begin to mention some of the weird third and short play calls. Some we can talk about them. The Carter one at the beginning of the game, a screen to Keenan Allen that wasn't really a screen. I mean, there's still the same Chargers frustrations, but this is one of those days where he just outshines all of that stuff.
That's it. And that's where just getting into that whole social media quarterback stuff is always why it's so frustrating about with Justin Herbert is he makes those highlight throws, the shot play to Mike Williams, that you have pressure on, even though that play is designed to wad it up so the quarterback has plenty of space. He still has two guys beelining right at him, and he puts down the money. It's all the in-between stuff that Justin Herbert does. He is the twitchiness, the size, the movement in the pocket, the big throws, the big arm. It's everything in between all those flashy things. That's why I laughed all the time when people are like, people just got, ogle over those 3 throws. It's like, no, we ogle over the 15 throws in between that where he's making a combination.
It's the combination.
Yes.
It's the highlights plus the process.
Yeah.
That's what makes him so just rare in terms of the skill set and the combination. Yeah. It's not just the highlight plays. And when you see games like tonight, there's a reason why I thought that he was going to knock on the door of being in that top tier of quarterbacks this year. And it didn't end up happening for a lot of different reasons in terms of his overall production for the season. But this argument that he's not a borderline elite quarterback or that he hasn't broken through yet, the word you used on Friday, I thought was perfect. He's exceptional. He is exceptional. And where you want to stack him up among the guys in the league, that's a conversation we can have at a different time, but he is exceptional. He is one of those quarterbacks that you win because of, not just win with. And tonight is a serious reminder of that. And one of the things that I found strangest about the discourse, and there has been discourse last week, is this idea that he hasn't really broken out yet. And maybe he hasn't had the MVP type season, but the stat I threw out on our Thursday preview show, over the last 12 years since 2010, among guys with at least 1,000 pass attempts, he's 11th at EPA per dropback.
Yeah.
He's already broken out. He's already had that season where he was an elite or borderline elite quarterback. And even if this has been uneven over the course of this year as things have crumbled around him, it's so strange to me that people don't think he's had that kick down the door moment, because I thought he had it last year.
Yeah. And that's what's so funny to me. They're like, oh, he's dipped back this year. He has the potential. No, he already did it all. Like ever since he's been in the league, I think he's 5th in EPA per dropback, or tied for 5th. And the guys above him are the guys you think that would be above him. It's Aaron Rodgers, Mahomes, Josh Allen, I think Deshaun Watson, and I believe he's tied with Tom Brady. It's like he's already there. Like it's just that, yes.
I'm sure Burrow's getting there now.
Burrow's right behind right there. And that's the thing, is Burrow also had the weird rookie year with, he got injured and stuff. So, but like now it's like, yeah, Burrow's climbing up the ranks. But that's the thing. I'm glad you said that first 4th down call. If the Chargers didn't win this game, I was going to say that play was the encapsulation of all the Chargers issues, or it was just the Chargers as a whole. I wouldn't even say issues. Brandon Staley, awesome, goes for it in 4th and goal early in the game. Okay, cool. That I love it. Yeah, be aggressive. Then it was a Joe Lombardi special where they isolate DeAndre Carter, the guy that's played 700 snaps leading into this year for 4 different teams. And it was like, I understand. Again, we've talked about this a lot with our frustrations with the Chargers offense. It's a lot of stuff that seems good on the chalkboard, and then you get into practice and it's like, well, they covered it. Or what else you got? Like, how else are you going to make this easier on your team? So that play was like an encapsulation. But again, Herbert overcomes this stuff, and that's why, and Austin Eckler too. But that 4th down, there's a 4th down, 3rd down throw, 3rd down out route to Keenan Allen.
It's 3rd and 5.
I would say, yeah, 3rd and 5. What is it for the 4th quarter 3rd down throw with about 9 minutes left? And that right there is Justin Herbert. Puts it on the money, tightly covered, covered hard route to throw, and puts on the money like it was nothing.
Allen's reaction was amazing. The fact that his first reaction was to turn around and just point straight at him. That's how you know. That guy has seen a lot of football, Keenan Allen, over the last decade. He's seen a lot of really good quarterbacking. And for him to react like that, I think says everything it needs to say.
That's what it is. That's the stuff that Herbert does. And that's why I've made this joke before with the processing stuff. So he makes that flashy throw. It goes to the right spot. And it's just like, that's him right then and there. And it's not Drew Brees, it's Drew Windstorm, like how he processes and everything. Cause he does all that stuff. He reads, there's all the jokes about stick that everyone's running to the ground now. But the thing is, Herbert gets through all of it. He'll hit the middle check down like Drew Brees used to, but then all of a sudden he's pulling up and throwing 60-yard bombs. It's the combination that makes him so special.
Who knows what'll happen over the next 4 weeks or so, 5 weeks or so. I mean, the Chargers are very much back in the playoff hunt now after winning that game, but this is still a very flawed team. Yes. And it's not about that to me. It's about the fact that over the last few days, over the last couple of weeks, there have been these rumblings about like what's Justin for Herbert's future and what kind of quarterback is he really. Right. And I think you and I both were looking at that stuff and just being like, what? Yeah, like, I just don't really understand that. We can talk about his ceiling and where that exists, but his floor and what he is, I don't really have a lot of doubts or confusion or concerns about that. Like, I think he is firmly one of the most important, valuable players, period, in the NFL over the next 5 years.
His situation can't get worse than this year, and he's already playing productive football. So it's like, okay, we know what his floor is now. Like, this is it. There's zero complaints from my end, at least.
So the Jets lost, which we'll get into a little bit later. We'll talk about the Chargers' playoff chances when we talk about that game. But they're really flipped today with that win. I mean, they have a pretty good chance of actually sneaking into this thing now. A team that is still very likely going to make the playoffs, but another rough outing is the team that they beat tonight with the Dolphins. Tua finishes 10 of 28 for 145 yards. You mentioned before we started, if you take out that bomb to Tyreek Hill where Michael Davis slips, what are the numbers?
9 for 27 for 85 yards.
Jesus.
Which is pretty dire.
So if you're trying to diagnose what went wrong tonight, what would you say? Is it connected to last week? It's terrible. I shouldn't ask 2 questions at once, but I just did. Where are you at about what might be the root cause of this?
Well, you saw the O-line blemishes come up, and when the stuff, you're not getting those chunk plays that they live off of that were, again, what we always talk about, easy buttons. It was a game where the Chargers were like, okay, do the hard stuff over and over. And you could see that the Dolphins struggled with it. And it kind of in a different, some similarities, I say same philosophical like way to go about it that the 49ers did last week as far as being aggressive, being physical with this Dolphins, especially this Dolphins receiving group. Make sure they get hands on them, no free releases, and maybe different coverages and different looks. I think there's a lot. What I'm seeing is that Tua trusts Mike McDaniel to point him in the right direction and stuff. He can progress to get to that spot, but it's ingrained in him. He ad-libbed more than he ever has tonight. I think he had like 3 scrambles tonight, which is like only like the 3rd multi-scramble game of the season. And you could see it is because he was starting to go like, well, I have to get to 3 and 3's covered. Oh, shoot. Or I have to get to 2 and 2's covered. All right, I guess I got to go scramble now. That's why you're starting to see that, because it was a lot of the stuff. It felt like the Chargers were showing the one look, the pre-snap look, and then the post-snap look, either bailing from the line of scrimmage or getting physical with the routes, changing up the timing. It felt like in its own way, a very mini version of the famous Colts-Patriots game in the playoffs where they changed the illegal contact rules. I'm not saying they're going to change all that. Not change it.
Honestly, though, it's a great thing to bring up, because there was a play, I think the first or second drive, where Drew Tranquill Tyreek Hill was in the slot, and it was incompletion that almost turned into an interception. And he rocks Tyreek Hill about at 5 yards. So they're trying to skirt that line a little bit in this game, and how aggressive they were playing all across the board. Next gen stats, really interesting numbers. 35% press coverage for the Chargers in this game. Single season high for them. Second highest the Dolphins have faced in a game this year. The Bills were at 40% in week 3. The only reception that the Dolphins had against press in this game was that Tyreek Hill 60-yard touchdown, which was just and they did it 35% of the time. So I think that, and they didn't play a ton of man coverage, but they were physical in zone coverage.
The example you brought up was slot press. We always think of press on the outside. And like, that's the thing. You're getting contact on the slot. So you're not getting those overs and those things over the middle.
And teams are so terrified of them during the first half of the season. And then when Tua was really rolling, I just wanted somebody to get up and start playing this type of style, because if you're going to go down swinging. Like, there's just no reason to sit back and let them get these chunks over and over and over again.
Right.
Because at some point you're going to have to disrupt the machine, because that's what Tua's trust in what that machine looked like was so vital to why they were successful, that I think that you have to rattle that trust a little bit in the timing of it. And I think that's exactly what you saw tonight. And just little tiny tweaks. Staley's a really good specific game planner. The idea of on certain looks where I can't remember exactly what the down and distance situation was. It looked like 2-man, but it might not have been, where they had heavy inside leverage on Waddle and Hill, both lined up on the left side with safety help over the top of both of them. And just like, all right, it's heavy inside leverage. They want to hit these in breakers, and there's nowhere to go with it. And so I just thought that he called a great game. The game plan was really good defensively. And then you have a quarterback who looked pretty damn good. And guess what? Looked pretty damn good with his guys back. I want to say, coming into this game, I think that Josh Palmer, Keenan Allen, and Mike Williams had played like a dozen snaps together or something like that this season. And even with the offensive line concerns, having those three guys back and together and just their full arsenal of receiving options, you saw what sort of a difference that makes. And you saw what that quarterback can play like when he has even a smidge of help.
Yeah, it was pretty dire. Like, there was a lot of points for how poor the O-lines were playing on both sides of the ball. Like, it was, I credit to what the Dolphins, how they designed their stuff and a couple Tua things, but then also just Herbert being Herbert. Like, it's like credit to those guys, because man, there was some bad, there's a lot of O-line leakiness in this game. And that's what Christian Wilkins has a standout game. He's had a standout season. It's pretty cool watching.
Awesome. I was bummed that we didn't really mention him last week, because we were so worried about how the offense played against the Niners and the Purdy situation. He was fantastic against San Francisco last week, and I meant to talk about it. I want to say, and I'm not, probably is still the case after this game, he led the league in run stops for loss or non-sack tackles for loss among any players in the league after last week. I mean, the level of disruption that he is creating week in, week out is remarkable. And this game was another example of that.
That's my new favorite stat put together in True Media. It's
a great
TFLs, non-sack TFLs plus run stops. So it's like, and he leads the league. He just took the lead again tonight. Matt Milano, I think, is in second. But yeah, he is just a monster.
Just think about that. Think about how disruptive you have to be as a defensive tackle to lead the league in that stat when you're going against guys like Matt Milano. It's incredible.
It is.
How concerned are you about the Dolphins moving forward with the offense and the way that it's operating right now? Do you feel like this is a blip? Do you feel like this is the sign of what's to come? Where are you at?
They've now put it on tape. That's what's scary. You don't want to be doing this right as you're heading into the postseason. Like, I've loved what the Dolphins have done on offense, but you're now seeing our preseason worries kind of come to fruition in kind of at the worst time for them. Week 14 charging into December and January. And then that's the thing, is they're not playing like pushovers the rest of the way. You just mentioned that the Bills were the ones that pressed them the most last. Bills are one of the smartest defenses. They play them next. And then you got the Packers, which is, they might be starting Jordan Love, who knows? But then the Patriots are a physical team. And then you got the Jets, who are a physical defense as well. So it's kind of a murderer's row for this offense. I think the defense is kind of what we know. It's middle of the packish, maybe a little above averagey. You can run on them a little bit. They're going to try and blitz you a little bit. But I think this offense you're starting to see some of the cracks or just the imperfections of this offense become more glaring. As that's what happens. That's when the season gets late,
it happens
so much film
every year to
every year. Everybody.
And I can't remember what week it was. We did a show with David Hellman. We were talking about the Super Bowl contenders. And I was talking about the Dolphins, and I said, I just want to see them work through whatever little dip is coming for their offense, because it's coming.
It always comes.
Almost every single offense except Kansas City. The Chiefs don't really have those like 2 or 3 game swoons, because Mahomes just doesn't have really bad games. He threw 3 interceptions today, but if you look at the overall numbers, like, he doesn't bottom out. And that's what makes them different. For the most part, almost every other offense you're going to talk about is going to have that little blip over the course of a season. And I remember the Bills last year in the middle of the year had that exact sort of thing. And I wanted to see what would happen when the Dolphins had to work through that. And they absolutely can. There's a chance that they can, but now we're going to see it. And now we're going to see what they look like coming out on the other side, because that ultimately is what dictates how much of a threat you're going to be come playoff time. So this is going to be a really important stretch for Mike McDaniel and that team. It's the first time we've ever seen him have to do this. It's the first time we've ever seen Tua have to do this. And to me, it's a pretty telling process. So I'm excited to see how it goes.
And this is the most fascinating thing. This is why I'm so high on what the Bengals are doing right now, because they have got punched in the mouth and they counterpunched. And now it's like, oh, this is awesome to watch. But it took them a while, but they got there. But honestly, watching the Chargers, the last week, I want to say that the Dolphins ran that money play, the RPO wheel play, like I think it was 18 times. I want to say off the top of my head, maybe even 20. And the Chargers covered it today. It was the first team I've seen a team consistently cover it throughout a game, at least 3 times I saw. So it's like, okay, they took away your easy button. Now what do you got? And that's what we talk about, game planning coaches. This is where they they start rising to the top. And that's what's going to be fun. I've really liked what Mike McDaniel has done. I like what how he's operating this offense, but now they just got punched them out 2 weeks in a row. So what else you got?
All right. One more thing I want to talk about before we get to You Have My Attention. I want to chat a little bit about the MVP conversation. It has been a while since we've done this. I think that you and I are in a little bit of consensus about who the MVP of the league has been through the first 13 weeks. When you did your second edition of the 30s, you said that Patrick Mahomes was the MVP. I tended to agree with you. If you look at the numbers, they're the most efficient passing offense in the league. They're the most efficient offense in the league. They still lead the NFL in most of the important offensive categories, advanced, box score, anything. And he's doing this when they purposely took a step back with their offensive personnel. When they lost Tyreek Hill and they kind of said, all right, we're going to put all this on you. What can you do? He's still been the best quarterback in football. And I think that for those reasons, that's why he was the MVP to me. And he probably still is. But I want to talk about what an MVP argument for Jalen Hurts might look like. Okay, Mahomes is still the MVP betting favorite coming into this game. He throws 3 picks today. I have to assume that there's going to be at least a narrative groundswell about Jalen Hurts this week.
I see it forming.
I mean, it's already coming. So Here's my argument about, if I'm going to make an argument for why Jalen Hurts is the MVP, here's how I would lay it out. Okay, I understand that if you put Patrick Mahomes in the Eagles offense with the Eagles supporting cast, which is part of my argument, that it would be absolute fireworks all the time. It would be electric. They're the best offensive line in the league. They have a fantastic running game. They have amazing weapons. We see how often those guys just dunk on people left and right. But I also think that it's not that easy. It's not as simple as that, because what makes the Eagles so scary this season is that no matter what you do, they have an answer for it. We've seen that week in and week out. Last week against Tennessee, they're like, fine, we don't care. We're not going to run the ball because you can't stop us throwing the ball. And they just rain down on you for 4 quarters. The week before that, they played the Packers and they just ran all over them for 4 quarters because they could. And I think that Jalen Hurts is integral to being able to do that. The fact that he is a centerpiece of their running game and a centerpiece, obviously, of their passing game, I think their ability to have answers to everything doesn't come nearly as easily if they don't have Jalen Hurts. And I think that today was another really good example. I mean, he's making 3 or 4 really impressive throws on 3rd down. The 3rd and 6 completion with 8:05 in the first quarter was a beautiful ball to Devontae Smith. Yep. 3rd and 3 completion against the blitz to Quez Watkins early in the game. Great. 3rd and 6 scramble on the same drive. 4th and 7, that completion on the slot fade to Devontae Smith is a really well-placed ball down the sideline. So it's just, I understand that the skill position players are great. I understand that the help is great, but he's making 4 or 5 throws a game at this point that are him making plays. And when you combine that with the rushing, I was blown away by some of these numbers. Right now, he has 35 total rushing EPA. No one else in the league is over 19 that has more than 25 carries. That's twice as much as almost any other runner in the NFL. Some of that is driven by the sneaks and like the touchdowns. So if you take out rushes with 2 or few yards to go, so not sneaks, he's still at 22. He still leads the NFL. He is still first in EPA per rush among all players with at least 50 carries. And then he's 7th in EPA per dropback. And then the Eagles are the best offense in the NFC and the 2nd best offense in any metric you want to look at. Points per drive, touchdowns per drive, red zone efficiency, set of downs that produce a first down. They're 2nd in every single one of those to the Chiefs. So the fact that he gives them that flexibility and he's kind of at the center of that flexibility, that's how I would make that argument.
Yeah, it's so hard for me because I'm just like, you've laid out all my Mahomes portions of this, but I just want to take a second before I just list off a machine gun, a Gatling gun of Mahomes stats. Is Hurts has improved this year in ways that I was a glass half empty about him, in the sense that he is operating from the pocket. That 3rd and 3 example to Quez Watkins is perfect. Is two guys staring down the barrel. Giants brought a cover 0 and he hits that route on time, because if he's late on that, that's an incomplete pass. And that's like, okay, that is the progress I want to see. He has 83 design rushes, like the leads all quarterbacks. It's absurd. I'm glad he listed the EPA and stuff. That the QB sneak with him, why they're able to do it is because he's a weapon. When you watch him as a runner, and he's such a different type of runner than the other type of really good running quarterbacks, the Josh Allens and the Lamars and everything, is that he is just so strong and he has solid vision. He gets north and he can just bounce off the first tackler over and over and over and over. But the thing is, and the other thing, but I'll give one last stat that really speaks for Hurts, is you look at EPA per dropback. Mahomes blows everybody out of the water, right? And I'll get to that in a second. But if you look at EPA per play, including all the runs and everything, then Hurts is 3rd. And that really speaks
Who's
to him.
second?
Tua going into tonight. So we'll see what he is after. But it was Mahomes, Tua, and then Hurts and Dak Prescott. So of course I want to list that stat off. Get Dak, get him a little love in there.
You're nothing but consistent.
I know, I know, but I'm just not going to, the shiny toy, I'm not going to go for it, but I'm going to go for, this is Mahomes. This is why Mahomes is, to me, the MVP. And I don't want to knock anything that Hurts has done. I think if I did offensive player of the year right now, like it's like Tyreek and Hurts. Like honestly, like I would be willing to vote for a quarterback. Usually I think that's a non-quarterback award, but I think Mahomes is MVP. The EPA per dropback, 0.3. It's the 3rd best since 2018. It's the 5th best since 2012 with quarterbacks of 500 more attempts. The other ones, the top 5, 2013 Peyton Manning, 2014 Aaron Rodgers, 2019 Lamar, 2018 Mahomes. And he's tied with 2016 Matt Ryan. His scramble EPA this year, total, he's 4th, Hurts is 3rd. Just total EPA they've generated around scramble. Sack percentage, Mahomes is 3rd, Hurts is 23rd. Pass success rate, Mahomes is 1st, Hurts is 11th. True dropbacks, so this is no play action, no screens. Chiefs do a decent amount of it. He's about league average. Mahomes, 67% of his pass plays are true dropbacks. Hurts is 29th. Just about half of his passing plays are non-play action, non-screens. And you already listed off that all the other metrics, the team metrics, is all this. And I just don't want to discredit what Hurts is doing, but what Mahomes is doing is like, we talk about exceptional. This is the true star stuff. This is not a down year. This is a top year for any quarterback in recent memory. And that's how we should look at it, that he could throw 3 interceptions and still have a QBR of 68 today. He threw for
a positive EPA today, even though he had 3 interceptions. His positive
EPA per dropback today is what Hurts's is on the entire season, 0.08. And he had 3 interceptions today. And that just the touchdown of McKinnon where he's just hook shotting it, like the runaround touchdown that he had later. It's unbelievable what this guy does. And it's just the classic alien test, or the classic someone that's never watched football. You take him out there, who's the best player? And everyone would just go number 15. And he is just that special.
That's true. And I understand that. But then obviously what he does is spectacular, and the touchdown today is a perfect example. And the dropback numbers are there. But what makes the Hurts case interesting to me is about how important he is to the overall system and structure to what the Eagles do. Yeah. And even like Miles Sanders is 2nd in the NFL in total rushing EPA. If you look at those numbers
from it,
is Miles Sanders that efficient of a runner if Jalen Hurts is not there? And I think that those are sort of the layers of the conversation that I find interesting. I still think, gun to my head, I'm picking Patrick Mahomes, but I think that there's going to be a building momentum for Jalen Hurts as the Eagles continue to do this. And I'm trying to just put myself in that position and think about what that might look like. And in my mind, the key parts to that argument and what it looks like is the fact that it's the rushing and the passing. And it's not just his rushing, like how central he is to their ability to have this fluency and this flexibility on offense. That's at the core of it for me. Mm-hmm. So even if I'm still picking Mahomes, I feel better about what those Jalen Hurts arguments might look like as they're going to start popping up more and more here.
If you ever, man, I know exactly what you're saying, because they can't operate how they operate, especially in the run game if Hurts isn't there, if he isn't such a special runner and knows how to do all of it. So I totally get what you're saying. It's just The passing game is just a little bit, that's where my argument falls away a bit. It's like, how simplistic it is, but they don't, not knocking the play calling or play design, because it's just, they don't have to do anything else.
The play calling and play design is excellent
because it's so streamlined. It's
Yes.
just pick your poison. We're going to destroy you no matter what. But I totally get what you're saying to centric, but then you just watch Mahomes and you're like, well, can anyone else do what this freaking guy's doing? And that's where it is. He could drop in and you can run any offense with him. Maybe not what the Ravens do, but it's like you could drop him in and Mahomes is going to maximize what they're doing. He's the most scheme-proof player in the world. And so
it's a fun consideration. What would the Eagles offense look like if Patrick Mahomes was their quarterback? I don't know. And that's why this is fun to me, because it's not just as simple as be like, all right, I'll drop this guy into what they're doing and they'll be better, because the Eagles wouldn't look anything like the Eagles if Patrick Mahomes was their quarterback. They'd probably be better, but they wouldn't look anything like they look right now.
That, which speaks to the coaches again. And
it speaks to how valuable Hurts is for what he does to them.
For what he is. He's just a specific player. I'm trying to think of cross sports comparison with him, and I would like kind of drawn a blank a little bit. But that real quick, just talk about how design and how they use Hurts's ability to their benefit. They had a backed up 3rd and 1. And we talk about the QB sneak play with Hurts is one of the best weapons in the game right now. And they showed the QB sneak. They did tackle over. So Mailata was kicked over to the other side, and they did a tight end motion into a pitch play off of it, which I thought was awesome. It's like they're getting, see, this when we talk about, hey, you get kicked in the teeth, or what wrinkles do you got? The Eagles already shown these wrinkles before anyone kicks them in the teeth. I've already talked about that. Every time they've had a blemish so far where it was like, oh man, some teams figuring out some answers, the next week they have something where they're like, oh, check that box. They solved it. So again, this Eagles offense is pretty freaking awesome. Like it's really hard to figure out who can stop them. And that speaks to Hurts and what Hurts is doing, how he's operating as well. But it's still Mahomes to me, and still will be Mahomes probably every week for the rest of the year. I'm telling you guys, top 5 years since 2012. It's like, this is a historic year that he's doing right now, but the Hurts argument is fun.
I probably agree with you, but again, it's fun to do this every once in a while. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to get back with you at my attention. Hey guys, I'm here to tell you about our next partner, Roman, the digital health clinic for men. Now, I'm not sure if you know this, but 50% of men have symptoms that get in the way of their sex drive. Now, look, guys, this isn't a bad thing because Roman is here to help. Roman is the digital health clinic for men, addressing a variety of sexual health needs and offering genuine medication that helps achieve and maintain your sex goals. And men with low T getting testosterone levels back to normal can help increase your libido. Roman offers a testosterone test, which includes lab processing, and if it's appropriate for you, treatment for low testosterone. So, how does it work? First, complete an online visit detailing your symptoms and medical history. A U.S. licensed healthcare professional will review your information and make a personalized treatment recommendation. Roman will ship your treatment in discreet packaging with free 2-day shipping, if prescribed. At Roman, there's no waiting rooms and no hassle. It's just a straightforward digital experience from the comfort of your home. If medication or testing is appropriate, Roman will send it directly to your door. Everything arrives in discreet packaging with free 2-day shipping. To learn more about how you can achieve your personal sexual health goals, go to ro.co/MAYS today to get 20% off your entire first order. That's ro.co/MAYS. These days, every potential new hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. And that's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Start by creating a free job post on LinkedIn Jobs. Then add your job in the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. With simple tools like screening questions, you can make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. Finish the year strong by finding the right team member to help you get over the finish line. That's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/maze. That's linkedin.com/MAYS to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Finding the right wine for holiday dinners, family gatherings, and gifts can be stressful and expensive. That's why First Leaf does the hard work for you. Here's how First Leaf helps make holiday wine buying easy and affordable. To start, First Leaf asks you specific questions about your personal wine preferences. Then, they'll use your answers to learn what kind of wines you like and what you don't. Next, for less than you pay at the store, First Leaf's experts will custom curate award-winning wines you'll love and deliver them right to your door. They offer flexible delivery options, fast shipping, and make it super easy to change or cancel. First Leaf samples over 10,000 wines a year from around the world and selects only the finest bottles, meaning a First Leaf wine subscription can help you impress everyone on your guest list and gift list. Sign up today and you'll get your first 6 bottles for $39.95 plus shipping. Go to tryfirstleaf.com/mays. That's tryfirstleaf.com/mays to get your first 6 bottles for $39.95 plus shipping. Tryfirstleaf.com/mays. Other producer Ken is out this week, so we don't have special drops, so we will have them for the podcast. So don't worry. We're still talking about guys that have our attention. And guess what? Brock Purdy. You have my attention.
Yeah, it does. Purdymania.
Brock in this game, let me get back to it. Brock goes 16-21 for 185 and 2 touchdowns in a game where the Niners destroy the Bucs 35-7. Where do you even want to start with this?
Well, I originally, when Debo got hurt, I was going to say that the 49ers are officially the Black Knight and Monty Python. You know, it's just a flesh wound. They just keep coming. They're just going to gnaw you off. I don't know, man. Like he makes a couple throws that this is the Brock Purdy stat that I think just perfectly encapsulates the difference of Brock Purdy and Jimmy G, because there's so many similarities as far as where they're attacking, what plays they're calling, and everything. Is Jimmy G scrambled twice this entire season. Brock Purdy's already scrambled 3 times this entire season. That is then and there. The difference in play style, 60% of Purdy's throws are outside the pocket. That's double of Jimmy G's rate of 7.8%. So that's a little bit of the difference with this play style. But man, he knows how to operate it, man. Everything's calm. They have no cadence stuff. He's making all the checks and kills. They're doing all the motion stuff. They haven't dumbed down anything for this offense, and the run game looks awesome. And yeah, Purdymania. It was fun to watch. He makes a couple throws that are really fun.
I don't know, man.
I know. I know. They were running him off the court like that.
I mean, some of it is perfectly within structure and within what they're trying to accomplish offensively. Right? In the opening drive, they had a 3rd and 7. It was a 1-by-3 with Kittle on the right side, and he hits a little in-breaker to Kittle. When they get 5 in the pattern, the quarterback, I'm not saying is inconsequential, but there's a lot you have to worry about if you're a defense. So today I was curious about it because watching that play, McCaffrey gets out into the flat to the same side that Kittle is on. And so there's just so many threats, especially when Debo is healthy, which we can talk about. In this game, when the Niners had 5 out in the pattern, Brock Purdy was 12 of 14 for 142 yards. I mean, just very, very hard to stop. It kind of goes without saying. So you have that example with Kittle. The McCaffrey touchdown is just wonky Kyle Shanahan shit. McCaffrey's at number 1. George Kittle is in the backfield.
Yep. And
so the Bucs on that play, they were in one of their wonky Todd Bowles type things. The defensive tackles were lined up as off-ball linebackers on that play, or just big guys in general, guys with numbers in the 90s. One comes scot-free on a blitz, and it's a good thing Kittle is there, because Kittle has to hit an unblocked 300-pound blitzer to give Purdy time to hit McCaffrey on that play. McCaffrey's open, burns Logan Ryan. It's a touchdown. Again, in structure. But there were a couple plays in this game. There's one where he evades pressure and finds Kittle for a chunk in the first quarter. There was that one play where he did the swim move with a defensive tackle and then found Debo Samuel out of structure.
Between 3 guys.
In this game, he was 7 of 8 for 109 when pressured. That type of stuff is probably going to come back to earth.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very difficult to rely on that stuff, play in and play out over the course of a game. He had a bad interception in this game that was called back for, I believe, a defensive holding that was completely unrelated to the interception that he threw. So we'll see what happens over a long stretch of time, but it's definitely a good first entry into how good can the Niners be and how far can they go with Brock Purdy as their quarterback.
If he can do all the in-structure stuff just well enough, they have so much juice on this offense.
Yeah.
It's like these guys are just rolling. The Debo touchdown had the little design stuff. CMC's the lone receiver, and they motion Ayuk and clear out the entire side. So like the run game is still a Shanahan run game, doing some really fun stuff.
McCaffrey 14 carries for 119 today.
They ran more times than they passed, and that's because they can do that. That's where that being in 21 personnel, this is the perfect defense to go against too. I always talk about with the Bulls defense, you want to get them in base, and they're making them be uncomfortable because Bulls wants to get to his pressure stuff out of sub. But just like some of these rods, man, like they had like a split zone with juice check in motion and then Kittle sliding across. So split
They
zone.
did that twice.
Yeah, it's like a double lead.
Yeah.
It's
I was trying
awesome.
I didn't know how to characterize it in my notes. So I was wondering what you would talk about, how you would say it.
Jet out split zone. So you jet with the kick out block with the split zone. That's how I would call it. Like it turns basically into a counter play. Like that's kind of how it ends.
But they ran it out of pistol. So there was no counter step. It looks really weird in practice. Yep. And it just one of those things where there are 4 or 5 plays in this game. Only the Niners are going to run. Only the Niners are going to try.
And we talk about like plays like duo or like I talk about it all the time, but like receiver blocking and how they have to fit up. And you watch this Bucs offense, it's Chris Godwin. You watch Packers, with Lazard, and these guys are fitting up on safety, CD Lamb. And then you watch what the Jets do this a little bit too, Shanahan type offenses. Watch how many times the 49ers ask their receivers to pin a D end so they can get outside to the weak side.
And it was Ayuk a bunch today. This guy's a first round pick who's super skilled.
And that's not the guy that you would expect to do that. Oh, okay. No. It's not Jennings.
He's not a dirty work guy.
No, he's not. If Jennings was in there, it's like, oh, okay, that makes a ton of sense. That's their dirty work guy. But the fact that they're having their star yak guy and he's setting picks on DNs and getting plays out in space, that's how you get Trent Williams pulling. And that's just an awesome counter. This is what the Falcons do really well. They'll hit this play as well. But they have guys, insert name here, doing it. Like they have Drake London doing it a couple times, but they have other guys doing it. So that's what's really cool. You remember that this is a Shanahan run game. But the other thing was Brock Purdy didn't hit the Nick Mullins first start numbers. Nick Mullins in his first start, 16 of 22, 262, 3 touchdowns against the Raiders. So didn't hit Mullins numbers.
I'm glad you brought this up. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I think it's important to bring context to this before we move on. Brock Purdy, I think that Jimmy Garoppolo is important to the level of success we've seen from the Niners passing game over the last 3 or 4 years. I mean, there are people online talking to me about this today, and I wanted to bring it up. I don't think that this is a quarterback-free offense. I don't think you can just drop in anybody you want to and have the Niners put forth the same sort of success they've had with Jimmy Garoppolo. That would be an insane thing to think. Jimmy Garoppolo has been one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the league with Kyle Shanahan. But how much better they make the quarterbacks that you drop in here. The fact that Nick Mullins is 33rd in EPA per dropback among pretty much all quarterbacks with 100 attempts over the last 3 or 4 years. And he's bounced around between practice squads or whatever. He was at least average NFL quarterback within this offense. And I think that Brock Purdy can be better than Nick Mullins was. And I also think that this is the best set of weapons the 49ers have ever had.
Yes.
The Niners offense has never had this amount of threats in the passing game. Think about that McCaffrey touchdown. That McCaffrey touchdown is on the table because it's Christian McCaffrey. And what they can do with those 5 guys out in the route changes because Christian McCaffrey is there. And I do think that the set of weapons they now have is even more prone to lift up their quarterback. Jimmy Garoppolo was putting together the best statistical season, according to advanced numbers, that he had ever had under Kyle Shanahan this year. So I think it's reasonable to conclude that Brock Purdy can be the best other quarterback that we have ever seen within this Niners ecosystem since Kyle Shanahan got there. Does that change with Deebo Samuel missing time? Perhaps, but it's a high ankle sprain. They have pretty much already won the division. Our Austin Mock says they have a 94% chance to win the NFC West after that Seahawks loss today. So if Deebo can get back by the playoffs and they're full strength or something close to full strength with all of those weapons, I still think that they're dangerous even with Brock Purdy, just because of how much faith I have in the pass catchers and how much faith I have in the guy pulling the trigger.
Absolutely.
And by that I mean Kyle Shanahan, not the quarterback.
Yeah, no, yes, the puppet master. No, that's the thing. This defense is insane. And
that goes without saying. Yes.
And it's not like you watch this defense and you go, oh, well, you can run on them. So if you control the clock and, it's like, no, the defense could shred anybody, especially if you have a poor O-line. So so you take that worry out. And then Purdy does actually, the O-line's not great, but you still have a Shanahan run game. They don't tap into the play action as much as they haven't before. Like that's the other thing. There's a little uptick with Purdy. I'm trying to find this right now, but there's a little uptick with Purdy. But if they look Okay, right here. This was the lowest percentage that Jimmy G has used play action was this season. So if it's just true media stats, 29% of his early down plays were play action. So usually it's
Where does
about
that rank
40,
in the league?
That's about league average. It's so about league average, a little bit above. But usually his career percentage, including this year, is 37%. So there's a downtick. Purdy so far has only used about 29% play action. They're not just going easy button, easy button, easy button, easy button for him. They're still doing the drop back stuff that this 49ers offense has tweaked into, and they still
I
have
think
that
the easy
room.
button stuff is the 5 guys out in the route.
That's
stuff.
what I mean.
That's
But
the
that's
easy
the
button
hard
stuff within
You
this
know what's
offense.
the hardest shit to defend on defense is that when all 5 guys are valid weapons, that is impossible to defend. It's a motion offense, except in football. Like that's the thing. Play action. The downside of play action is sometimes you only get 2 guys out in routes and plus the check down. So we'll call it 2.5 guys, or it's a half field read. 5 guys with empty makes every part of the offense available or the field available for the offense to attack. That is so much harder. That's why I talk about and why I even brought up that Hurts Mahomes, the true dropback percentage. That's why a true dropback offense that you can do well is the hardest thing, because you always have to defend every area. You can't just go, well, we'll just run cover 2 over here. We'll cloud this side. They can't throw it over there. That's why it's so tough. But the fact that the 49ers can tap into that now is really, really scary.
And that's why I think that this is the best situation this offense has been in, independent of who the quarterback is. And I think that the ceiling is obviously higher with Jimmy Garoppolo, but I also think the expectation should be higher with whoever you drop in there. If it happens to be Brock Purdy, it's Brock Purdy. Yeah. And it goes beyond floor, though.
It's right. I'm trying to think of a good way to put it, because
it's
the
multiplier. The multiplier is higher than it has ever been within the Niners offense, right? So if you're looking at that's
plays
what
are gooder.
and it's the multiplier you put on the quarterback. That's what this is. It's not that you get the same level of results no matter who the quarterback is. It's that if you put Jimmy Garoppolo in the Shanahan offense compared to anything else, he's 1.7 times better than he would be with any other play caller. That's so Brock Purdy within this offense is 1.7 times better than he's going to be. And maybe that number was 1.3 in a world where Brandon Ayuk wasn't like a star level player. They didn't have Christian McCaffrey, all of these other considerations that weren't in place over the last few years. That's how I feel about it. It's like how in high school football, if you're a private school in Illinois, this is how it is at least. And if you're a private school, you have a multiplier for your student body in order to like determine what division that you're in. So that's kind of what it feels like now, is that they have a multiplier for the Niners offense because of Kyle Shanahan.
That's funny. Yeah, it's like an RPG. They got the Shanahan shield. That like increases everything. But I love that. You go with the Illinois high school football, and I went with like a Zelda reference or something like that.
Sounds right. That's where we're both at.
Right.
So the Debo injury, definitely something to take into consideration here, because if hopefully this is just a 3 or 4 weeks thing. I hope they shut him down. If this is really, if they have these sort of 94%, just shut him down, because with these high ankles, that's the biggest concern, is that they linger and he's a shell of himself. Like that's the last thing that we want. So hopefully he can get back healthy and we can see what these guys do. The last thing I wanted to say, the Ayuk touchdown, I can't remember if it was on the same drive, but it was in the same half. They hit a deep curl to him earlier on that, I believe, the same drive. And then the touchdown is he fakes the deep curl and then runs the double move for a touchdown. It's like, I fucking love Kyle Shanahan.
Dude,
just
it's all linked. Was a sluggo, like they're running goes and sluggos on the outside. They're just,
because that's what Logan Ryan thought it was going to be, a sluggo. He sat there playing, he thought it was going to be a slant. Like he sat there playing the inbreaker, knew it was coming, and instead it's like
heavy inside.
It was almost like a fake sluggo. He like barely moved inside before he ran the go, and that's all he had to do.
It was just selling the stutter step. It was like that's all they needed.
All right, next one, Detroit Lions and your playoff odds. You have my attention. What a game!
Wow. It was a fun game.
So there's a lot to dig into with this game, because I was actually very impressed with the Vikings on offense.
Yeah.
Like we could talk about that in a second. I was blown away by some of the plays that they made offensively, but the Lions again come up with a big win. Yep. Our Austin Mock at The Athletic has them with a 36% chance to make the playoffs now. And if you're stacking it up right now, I mean, they just beat the Vikings by 2 scores in a game that they were favored. How many teams in the NFC are definitively better than the Lions right now, today?
3.
I think that's probably right.
I say 3. Eagles, Cowboys, 49ers.
Yeah, who else would
And
it be?
right? And then you get to the other
Bucks,
realm.
Washington, the
Mhm.
Giants, the Seahawks, all these other teams that are in the playoffs or on the brink of making the playoffs. The Lions are favored against all of those teams right now, I think.
Yeah. If they're favored on the Vikings, they're favored on those teams, I think. Like, that's at least neutral if it's -2.5. But no, they're playing really, really good football right now. Like, and the fact that they're getting a pass rush now on defense,
It's huge.
that's huge for this team. Just so they can just get out.
Aiden Hutchinson ruined that drive. I mean, he forced the field goal on two back-to-back plays by himself on that drive in the second half. He got a sack against Brian O'Neill with like a nasty little move, and then they sent him on a stun on the next play.
Good player.
Brian O'Neill's a good player.
That's not some beating up on some Spencer Brown or something like that.
And that's what you're seeing is that, okay, you're getting that sort of play out of Aiden Hutchinson when he was kind of a zero for the first month of the season.
Yep.
Rookie happens, whatever.
There. Yeah.
I can never remember his name. Houston, like their situational pass rusher that they have right now that just came back that was out for most of the year. That guy has like crazy bend. He's made some real plays. What is his name?
Real plays. 50-something. Where is he?
Stand by. This is good. This
is
good.
James Houston. James
Houston. All right. So
6th round pick.
He has made some real plays. Like, I have been very impressed with some of the stuff that he has done. Malcolm Rodriguez had a great play today on a 4th and short. They've gotten a decent amount
One of the few Hard Knocks hype guys that actually lives up to his bill.
Yes.
Like, he's actually a good player. Like, that's the thing. Most of those guys are like all fun stories, and then you realize why they're a fun story. But he's actually like a good player.
They got Jerry Jacobs back. I loved Jerry Jacobs last year. Street free agent, was really flashed for them last season. He was hurt for a huge chunk of this year. He's back now. So this defense has definitely been lifted, even though the Vikings played fantastic on offense today, if you look at the numbers. But so the defense has been better to a point where they're now functional and they don't just get rolled over for most of these games. They're able to make a stop here and there, I guess is what I would say. Okay. That is very important. The offense today, Jared Goff had the second highest EPA per dropback in the league today. He was 27-39 for 330 yards and 3 touchdowns. And it felt like that. And then the little edges they created for themselves today. That fake punt swings the game. It's 4th and 7.
Inside their own 30.
It's 4th and 7 inside their own 30. They're up 14-7 with 13 minutes left in the third quarter.
Yep.
And they run a fake punt and go down and score a touchdown to make it 21-7.
That's playing to win and not to lose.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
I loved it so much. That's the thing. Why they do. Dan Campbell's been tremendously aggressive on 4th down. Like the Patriots
most aggressive
game,
4th down team in the NFL.
Okay, it's just every game. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how the game script's going. The Patriots game where they were getting their teeth kicked in, I think they went for on 4th down like 5 or 6 times. Like he's sticking to it. That's what you're supposed to do when you go for on 4th down. You're not supposed to ebb and flow. You're supposed to stick to it because over time, it's a good thing.
They went for it on their first drive of the game today, I believe, and they had on the 40-yard line. They didn't get it, and guess what? They don't give a shit.
And they're still doing a fake punt and come out in the second half. It's awesome. But they are doing this is what getting these receivers back to is, of course, the offensive line's awesome. They had their run game's so much fun, like week in, week out. It's just what they did to the Jaguars last week or a couple of weeks ago, or last week, whatever week it was. Last week was a snuff film. Like it was actually it was Jonah Jackson and Ragnow were pushing this poor defense tackle like 3 gaps over. It was bad, but it was that's what this Lions offensive line is going to keep in so many games because they can keep the pocket clean. And then now you got receivers making plays. Not only just Amon-Ra St. Brown, who is, I mean, just such a good player, but DJ Chark, they're running 989 to DJ Chark. That 989, I'll always say this, that is, we have a better players than you do kind of play. And that's what it looked like today when they have DJ Chark dunking on guys. The Jameson Williams TD was great design. We talk about the play action stuff. The basic play action concept is an over and a post. That is a 2-man concept. Typical hard, heavy play action is a 2-man concept. So all they did was just that they over stop. You see the Rams used to do this a ton with Cup, but over and stop right at the hash and then mess with the Vikings rules because
the post safety just drives down on it. I mean,
he really drive on the over
right
that's
in front of him. He almost has no choice.
He has to, because otherwise they're hitting over and he's in no man's land and it's a 20-yard gain right in front of his face. And then the coach is going, what the hell are you doing there? But because the stop, Josh Reynolds' stop comes right on the hitch or right on the hash, Patrick Peterson can't slingshot to the post.
Yep.
So it's just a double. Oh, it's just great design. That was such a good changeup. When I talk about changeups, that was one of the perfect kind of changeups. And it goes for a touchdown, not like a 7-yard gain that I go gaga over. So it's they could do stuff like that. They're getting their personnel usage is really cool. They like against the Giants, they're in 21 personnel or pony personnel like 20 something times. They went away for it for 2 weeks. And then this game, they tap back into it because the Vikings have some weaknesses against that. So Ben Johnson's doing an awesome job. The offensive line does a great job, and Jared Goff's playing good football. It's a really fun unit and we haven't even talked about the Sewell catch yet.
I want to say there was a motion on the Williams touchdown that excuse me. That's not what it was. It was a play action fake, and the other safety who is in the run fit flies down.
Yeah.
So which that really clears up the picture, right? Yep. So Goff is now sitting there. He knows it's single high.
He's just reading the
safety's flying down.
Doing.
He only has one guy to read, and it's an easy touchdown. I was like, I wonder, the other safety flew down, and I couldn't remember why.
And then you could tell he goes, oh shit, because he didn't know who to cover. He was like, you're
just sitting there. It was rough.
It's like a dog caught his own tail.
There were two more plays that I just play design outside of the Sewell catch that I think were beautiful. There was few. They handed the ball off to Amon-Ra St. Brown on a 3rd and 1 with him offset in the backfield, which was gorgeous. It was just the timing that they have on some of the stuff and the spacing. They just are so clearly so well coached. He had one where it's just like little zone beater where he almost like runs a wheel and then cuts it back underneath against zone coverage. That's just like perfectly spaced. It's a little high low that he hit St. Brown on again. And then the touchdown to Reynolds is just gorgeous. It's like a big, so Reynolds is in the slot on the right. They run a big fake toss, and all Jared Goff has to do is turn around, and Reynolds is just running like a quick in breaker, and it's an easy touchdown. Yep. And they're the best red zone team in the league. They have the best red zone efficiency in the NFL.
Yeah.
And we see stuff like that that's just easy, and it's not surprising. So you get a couple go balls, a couple chunk in breakers off play action, a couple high leverage little designers that they had, and you have that sort of impact and that sort of results that you saw today. And then they ran a 340-pound right tackle in motion and threw him the ball to seal the game.
It was awesome. I went nuts when I saw it because I had on my game or my Sunday ticket on my Xbox. And so it hit before Red Zone Channel showed it. So I was just going nuts. I'm like, oh, I cannot wait to see Twitter right now because I know how many we all have the Red Zone Channel on. And oh my God. But that again was we're talking about their red zone designs are awesome because their run game in the red zone is always really unique way to go. I speak and write English for a living. And so, but they so every week their run game's always great. Their play action stuff in the red zone. How many like wide open tight end touchdowns you'll see in the red zone shows good design. Their short yard stuff's really good. But then that Sewell catch was so awesome is the Lions have used jumbo personnel top 10 rate. So 6 offensive linemen in some configuration in the entire NFL, they're in the top 10. So on that drive, that was the 3rd time in a row that they were in 11 jumbo. So Sewell was the extra tight end, but then they had 3 wide receivers. And then they went 11 jumbo run. I think it went for like no yards, 11 jumbo run, like 2 yards or 3 yards. And then they did it again. Same motion, same everything. Play action passes Sewell, who's 340 pounds and runs like he's about 220. Like and sticky hands. That dude is 22 years old, and he's playing like
he's going to be insane. He's already one of the best offensive linemen in the league.
Oh yeah, I'd vote him for first team All Pro right now. Like I wouldn't for at least second team, but he's on there, and he's 22. He just turned 22 in October, and that was such a fun knuckleball, and it was just it was awesome. It was so sweet. It was so cool.
So all of this gushing about the Lions, the Vikings are in this game.
Yeah,
I mean, the Vikings got some bad breaks in this game. Okay, they get stuffed on a 4th and 1 on their first drive. The Dalvin Cook fumble on the pop pass inside the 5. That's a game-swinging play.
Yeah,
that happens there. They had
whoever designed that one must have been so sick. They just must have been like, no.
Early in the second quarter, 3rd and 9, Hawkinson drops the ball on the right sideline. Okay, there's another 3rd down catch, I believe, late in the first half or early in the second half, where he hits Justin Jefferson and Jefferson rolls back in front of the sticks. So it's 4th and 1 and they have to punt. The Vikings in this game were fantastic offensively. This is one of the better games I think I've ever seen Kirk Cousins play.
He was on fire.
He had 5 or 6 throws in this game where I was like, holy shit. I mean, just absolutely. I'm trying to find them in my notes. I mean, just ripping balls left and right. He had a 3rd and 6 bullet to Justin Jefferson against man coverage that was on the same drive as a dime to TJ Hawkinson on 3rd down on a corner route. He followed that with like a laser to Jefferson on a little corner route down near the goal line. You just
keep saying Jefferson. He went for 223 today.
He was unbelievable. I mean, he was absolutely unbelievable. The Cousins Jefferson connection in this game was insanely good, and they lost because of a couple key moments. The Lions playing fantastic offensively. The Lions creating a couple edges in this game by going forward on 4th down, whatever. And I think the key thing to take into account as we think about the Vikings and moving forward, especially 29% rushing success rate since their bye. And they were very bad on the ground again today.
It's been bad. It's been really bad.
So I'm curious what the actual numbers were. Cause I mean, Dalvin Cook's
they're especially out of 11,
like 20 yards rushing in this game.
They've been so porous out of 11 personnel run, which was
15
supposed
for
to be
23. 15 carries for 23 yards for Dalvin Cook today.
Yeah.
And so since their bye, they've had they've
long of 5 yards.
29th in rushing success rate since the bye. They are 32nd in the percentage of their rushes that have gone for 0 or negative yardage since their bye. Hat tip to Alec Lewis, who covers the Vikings for us. He tweeted out something similar and made me look at it. So that is the one thing where if you're looking at a real weakness for what they were offensively today, that's it. Cousins and Jefferson were fantastic. That Jefferson play where they end up scoring to cut it to a 1-score game. Jefferson was in bounds. Like that should have been like a 50-yard touchdown by him, an insane catch on that 2nd down. So those two were fantastic today, but still not enough to keep pace with a Lions team that is really rolling right now.
Yeah, and that's what having, I mean, like you said, the Hawkinson had the drop, and Thielen had some kind of good plays, but he also kind of had some like frustrating plays a little bit. But that's the thing with Justin Jefferson. That one play that you brought up, the 3rd down that he rolled in front of the sticks, the route he put on Okudah on that play was like, I have it saved. I haven't tweeted it yet because I didn't want people going like, oh, it was short, because it was a disgusting route that he just basically breaks him off twice on it. But that's the thing, is like, that's the extent of the offense, is that you're of course you're living and dying with Justin Jefferson and some cool red zone designs. But it's like, as far as easy buttons in this offense, the easy buttons is supposed to be the run game, and they haven't fixed it. They haven't found. I thought they would maybe against the Patriots, especially, they were getting to some of those 12 personnel stuff and some no huddle, some hanging huddle kind of stuff. And I was like, okay, this is making it easier on yourselves. But it's kind of weekly, they just are not getting to it like what I was hoping to get to especially after the Hawkinson trade.
All right, so let's talk about how this game and some of the other results today affect the NFC playoff picture. So we just said that the Lions now have like a 33% chance essentially to make the playoffs after that win today.
Had them last week. Make the playoffs.
Seahawks, after losing to Carolina today,
of course,
they are out of the playoffs right now. Seattle is, as things currently stand, because Washington was on a bye, even with the Giants' loss. Austin still has them with a 64.5% chance to make the postseason, even at 7-6. Their remaining schedule at the Niners, at the Chiefs, Jets, Rams. I don't know, man. That seems like a pretty brutal stretch.
That's really rough.
So the Lions next week play the Jets at the Jets.
Okay.
If the Lions beat the Jets and the Seahawks lose to the Niners, which seems more than reasonable, and they're both sitting at 7-7, then we got Carolina, Chicago, Green Bay for the Lions, Chiefs, Jets, Rams for the Seahawks.
That's pretty tough.
Then you'd assume that Washington or the Giants, one of them gets knocked out because they play each other next week. So I think the Lions have like a real shot at this with the way that they're playing right now.
I think so too. They just feel so complete. Like, even if I don't know, I like how they're sitting right now. So the Lions go Jets, Carolina, Chicago. I mean,
that Jets game is that's it. Like, if they win that Jets game, I think they probably get in.
Yeah.
At this stage, I think they probably get in if they win that Jets game.
Only thing is that's an AFC game, so kind of like all the tiebreaker stuff. So kind of like is not as heavy. But yeah, no, that's a awesome game. Like Lions Jets is gonna be like a super sweet game to have circled. But I'm really liking what the Lions team's doing. I mean, honestly, like I feel so much better about them than, like I said, I think I have them as the fourth probably best NFC team right now. And that's how I just kind of like feel about them. Like fourth, yeah, fourth. And that's they deserve to play in the play. They're playing playoff ball right now. We
It's
talk
a
about
noon game.
Is it?
Yeah, that's brutal. It's a noon game. We got to do something about this. Somebody's got to step in here from the league.
Just a second.
I don't support that.
Get Chris Berman going. Get him on color commentary. You do a second Sunday night game or Monday night.
So the Seahawks, lose a couple here with the Lions going on a run. They fall out of the playoffs, but independent of the long-term outlook, not a great day today.
No.
I mean, so Seattle just gets absolutely run on this entire game. The Panthers faced 8 men in the box on 54% of their carries today, which is one of the highest rates in the league. They still had a 54% rushing success rate, which is the 4th highest of the week, and the 4th highest EPA per rush of any team in the league this week, despite the Seahawks being like, we're going to put a ton of bodies in the box. You guys were hurt. Al Woods, obviously that stuff matters, but still think a really important data point for the Seahawks defense to not be able to slow down Carolina in this game when all they wanted to do was run the ball. And then if Geno makes 1 or 2 mistakes like he did today, they just aren't set up and aren't as complete as they need to be to overcome something like that.
Yeah, and as I've been really liking what the Seahawks offense is doing and how Geno's playing, of course. And really, it's real. Like I want to assure people that what Geno's doing is very, very real. But that defense, and I've noticed this with some other kind of Fangio defensive like DNA, which the Seahawks have been doing a little bit, is that especially when you get into heavier personnel, 21 or 12, is you can just pound the freaking rock on them. And they just got exposed against the Raiders a couple of weeks ago against the Seahawks defense. But same right now, the Seahawks defense are bottom 10 in success rate against the run and 25th in overall success rate against bully ball, against 21-12 pro personnel. And 24th is that Raiders defense that we've kind of, people have been like, they're not great. That's what the Seahawks defense that kind of has happened to them. So it's as much as it's for them to feel good about a playoff team, they have to figure this out. But the last couple of weeks, they haven't. They had a nice month, and then the film gets put back out. Okay, those were your adjustments. Okay, now we're going to adjust to those adjustments. And can they take that next step? I do think this offense is playoff caliber, but the defense is just kind of holding them back.
I think I'd rather see the Lions in there. I just would.
Oh, I would too.
That's where I'm at right now. So
I would too.
We'll see what happens over the next couple weeks.
The best teams in the playoffs, and the Lions deserve to be in there. They are playing playoff football. That's my summary.
So one more team in the NFC playoff race that we want to talk about real quick. Weird game for the Cowboys today. I mean, they end up pulling it out against the Texans. I went back and rewatched a good chunk of this, and it did feel like one of those games where just everything goes wrong. Huge muff punt. Kelvin Joseph allows a huge completion to Chris Moore down the sideline. Tipped ball interception from Dak that went through Noah Brown's hands.
Yep.
Dalton Schultz drops a touchdown that forces them to kick a field goal. They're stuffed on 4th and goal. Terrence Steele goes down in this game, and Dak gets sack fumbled almost immediately by Josh Ball. And then the pressure that Dak threw from his own end zone was again around the right tackle after they lost Terrence Steele. So I still feel just fine about the Cowboys. I think that if they lose Steele for any stretch of time, that's huge, even with potentially, what the left side of their offensive line can look like with Tyron Smith. Losing their starting right tackle at this stage of the proceedings would be a huge deal. And not having Anthony Brown, if that ends up becoming any sort of long-term thing, Kelvin Joseph is not ready for prime time. And I think that we've realized that. No,
I nailed it on the head. That the Terrence Steele injury is pretty scary for them, especially like how he was playing. I mean, he had a couple of really nice blocks today too. But like this defense really felt like they were sleepwalking, especially in the first half. They were okay, just not hitting their gaps and not tackling. This defense you can run on this Cowboys defense. They have been good, but you can get after them if you just hit them right. And because they could sometimes, DeMarcus Lawrence has been outstanding this year. He'll go rogue. He has a lot of better bees, you better be right. And we saw a couple of times today, there's a 3rd and 2 in the red zone that before the Texans' first touchdown, Pierce converts on it. There's nobody in the B gap because 2 guys just went rogue on it. You saw a couple times today. This is why Jeff Driscoll was playing, is that zone runs or zone read type plays. You can get the Cowboys defense a little bit because they're so hair on fire. We're going to find the ball, get the ball, like, dog chasing a car. And I think that happened a couple times today. It was where Driscoll got a couple nice runs on them. They're not, I think historically I looked it up, like the Cowboys are decent against defending the run, but that just kind of speaks to the gap soundness. And the Texans hit a couple, like the late extended play touchdown to Amari Rodgers, the go ball to Nico Collins. Like, it's kind of like, okay, you just got kind of have to live with that. And usually our offense is going to sustain. The offense still had 9 explosive plays. Their success rate was almost at 50%. They're still devastating running the ball. It was just some of those, bad plays that kind of the 4th and 1 or the 4th and goal. The Cowboys are a top 5 team in power success rate. So it's like, that's just, it happens, but they're still really good at it. And they got one later because Dak was like a monster on it. But the Terrence Steele injury is going to be something of a concern, but still feel pretty good about the Cowboys.
So Jason Peters went in there late in that game, and by all accounts, it sounds like he played better than Josh Ball did. And we'll see if he's the answer for them at right tackle, which if Jason Peters can just go in and play right tackle and be serviceable for them, it just
nice.
put one more notch on his Hall of Fame plaque, my friend. Because that is pretty damn impressive at this age, switching sides after playing left tackle your entire life.
Little different than stepping in for the 2021 Chicago Bears.
The 2021 Chicago Bears were a great team, and I don't want to hear about that. All right, we're going to take one more quick break, and then we're going to dig into the AFC playoff picture before we get out of here. The holidays are here. You can achieve gift-giving greatness when you give the gift of perfectly aged, tender, and delicious Omaha steaks. The steak experts at Omaha Steaks have put together special, curated gift packages to help you take the guesswork out of gifting and make you a holiday hero. Go to omahasteaks.com and use promo code MAYS at checkout to get $30 off your order. You can send an assortment of mouth-watering favorites guaranteed to impress, like the legendary Butcher's Cut Filet Mignon, air-chilled boneless chicken, ultra-juicy burgers, and even easy-to-prepare comfort meals that are ready in a flash. Omaha Steaks is ready to ship your order right away, so shop early and beat the shipping rush. Go to omahasteaks.com and use promo code MAYS at checkout. Omaha Steaks is a gift from the heart, a gift that will be remembered with every unforgettable bite. Order with complete confidence today, knowing you're ordering the very best. Visit omahasteaks.com and use promo code MAYS at checkout to get that extra $30 off your order. Minimum order may be required. Finding the perfect suit is impossible, but finding a suit that's perfect for you is simple, thanks to Indochino. Choose your favorite fabric and customize every detail to find the look that's perfect for you. Submit your measurements online or get measured in store for a custom, made-for-you fit at an incredible price. And with their fall collection featuring new colors and premium fabrics, you'll be in style all season long. I have multiple Indochino suits, multiple Indochino dress shirts. I wear them to weddings, events, all the time. They're a huge part of my wardrobe and the style decisions that I make. I am very lucky to have them. Every Indochino suit is made just for you. It's a tailored experience at a great price. Design a look that suits you perfectly, from the fabric to the cut. You can fine-tune every detail, lapels, linings, monograms, and more. Get a premium, personalized wardrobe without spending a fortune. Design your perfect suit with Indochino. To get 10% off any purchase of $3.99 or more, use promo code MAYS at Indochino.com. That's INDOCHINO.com, promo code MAYS. All right, so let's dig through the AFC playoff picture here a little bit, some of the really important outcomes from today. After losing to the Bills today, the Jets are now out of the AFC playoffs as it currently stands. Austin Mock has them with a 35.6% chance to make the playoffs. Wow. So if they lose to Detroit next week, this is a bad situation. I had maybe three takeaways from this game after rewatching it. First, Mike White is an unbelievably tough dude.
Oh my God.
Unbelievably tough. Yeah. I don't think I can remember a straight on quarterback shot as hard as the one he took and came back from.
He looked like
got
a C.
Folded in half.
Yeah. It was bad. Straight on. Well, head of steam. Like clean hit too. Those are the worst ones. Everyone always thinks blind side hits are the worst. No, straight on helmet and sternum are the worst. That had to hurt so bad.
I mean, he comes back, which is absolutely remarkable. And I actually thought that Mike White was pretty impressive for stretches today. Like, he made a handful of throws where I was like, man, like that guy can really rip it. And
rip it.
Several that kind of make you sat up in your chair. And if he doesn't go out in that situation, so he goes out after that hit, and I believe Mike Remmers came in at right tackle on the exact same play for George Fant. Immediately after that happens, Joe Flacco gets strip sacked in Jets territory and gives the Bills the ball back. And if that doesn't happen, this game was already pretty close. And I think it gets a lot closer because one of my other takeaways from this game is I'm worried about the Bills offense a little bit. Like, I think the Jets are a bad matchup for them. The Jets are better for them up front. Quentin Williams had a disgusting bull pull sack today before he got hurt. That was just absolutely nasty. And, Bryce Huff had a couple nice moments again as a pass rusher, but they didn't have consistent offense again against this Jets defense. They had one chunk completion to Stephon Diggs. And other than that, it was a lot of Josh Allen scrambles, especially in high leverage situations. And that's really all they could rely on. I mean, he finished this game with 147 passing yards and 47 rushing yards.
Yeah.
And that's just not a good recipe, man.
Nope. That's how you always know they're struggling, is how many design rushes does Josh Allen have? That's how the game script is going for the Bills. And it's a team, this Bills team, it's kind of, there's so much that we talk about the offense, but we got to, again, appreciate what this defense does. They're fourth in DVOA, top 10 EPA per play. They have Trey White back, even though they lost Von Miller. It's so funny with these teams. It's just as you feel good about them, somebody gets hurt. Just always something like that. But I'm watching this Bills
Russo had
team.
a couple nice moments today. As you talk about guys stepping up, he had a couple big moments today.
But you watch this team and then you get,
including that forced fumble.
You talk about these. It's sorry for me. It's just, I'm just thinking of Spencer Brown, because you watch this Bills team and you're like, I can't feel good about an offense that has a right tackle that's literally every play. You don't know what you're getting. You don't know how clean it's going to be. And that's why going into this week, I had the stat post bye and before the bye, or maybe the last 6 weeks, was Josh Allen is now attempts outside the pocket and attempts that are taking 3 seconds or longer is basically doubled. And you can probably chalk that up to him just going, I don't trust anything that's going on here. 3rd and 15, he looked to scramble. And it's yes, Josh Allen scrambling is one of the most devastating things in the game. Him out of empty is really devastating. But it's kind of they're running out of tricks in their bag a little bit. They'll run mesh, and then they love running mesh return, which is the crossers fake they're running towards each other, and then they return back. They love doing it with Stephon Diggs. It's how they
how they got that big chunk today, I think.
It is. And later in the game, they did normal mesh, and Stephon Diggs faked the fake mesh, mesh return. He kind of stopped he was going to go back and then kept going across. And I think Josh Allen had to scramble on the play. But then it's if you're running fake return, all you got is that, I don't know what else they got in their bag. What else it feels all their little short stuff to the outs, that they used to just pepper all the time, are just not there. Either their teams are clouding that side. Team. Oh yeah. I mean, they're smoking them. They couldn't get anything going. The Bills at the end, it seemed like they were okay with running out the clock. In the second half, 20% of their snaps were in jumbo personnel. That is not the attacking Bills. I've talked about, I want this Bills team to adjust, and I think they have some throughout this season to try to be more sustainable without just, hey, Josh Allen, be Josh Allen. But it's it seemed like this game was let's just get out of this. It's not going well. So early in the third quarter, middle of the third quarter, jumbo. Let's just get these 3-4 yards. They had a couple of nice runs, but to me, it's just kind of there's one of those where this isn't going well. Let's get out of here with a win. And that's different than really how this Bills offense, especially this Bills team, felt maybe the first 6 weeks of the season.
If the Jets miss the playoffs, it's a huge bummer for Jets fans that really hoping the drought would end. And the other reason it's a huge bummer is that I'm bullish on the core of players that the Jets have assembled. Absolutely. You look at their early round picks that they've had and what those guys are going to be. Sauce is obviously a hit. Quentin Williams had a breakout season. He's played fantastic. Okay. They have other young pieces. Garrett Wilson, that guy's real. He just plays and moves differently. That guy is going to be a star. I have no questions about that.
Yep.
The offensive line will be healthier, hopefully moving forward compared to what it's been like this year, as they've had to rotate guys in and out the entire season. The offense, hopefully we'll see what happens at quarterback. They'll get better, more consistent quarterback play moving forward. You would hope, than they have gotten over the last couple of years. And with Mike White getting hurt again, they haven't been able to rely on that position. Defensively, even if you're thrilled about Quentin Williams and Sauce and some of the younger pass rushers that they have, it's never going to look like this group again. And when you have a unit that's so fun and so good and kind of sneaks up on you, you hope that you kind of catch that lightning in a bottle and can ride it pretty far. And if that doesn't happen, that's where the letdown comes, because I'm sure they'll be fine. Saleh's a really good coach. They have a lot of really good talent. But like, for example, Quincy Williams is a free agent. Okay. Sheldon Rankins is a free agent. He's been really good for them as a rotational guy this year. LaMarcus Joyner is a free agent. They will probably be able to replace those guys, and I'm sure they will be fine. But defense is weird.
It is.
You're never guaranteed to catch that the way that you did for 1 or 2 years.
You don't know who boosts who else. Like you do, but you don't. It's all bets. You're like, oh, this guy's 80% as good and maybe he can do that same role. And it turns out, oh shit, he's like 30% as good and he can't do that same role. You never know on defense.
And so that's why it's frustrating when you have this sort of defensive year where you're a borderline top 5 unit and you have these young guys coming on. It's never as simple as, well, we did this year, so we're going to build on that and just continue to get better. But I think that it's hard to come away from this season, even with that in mind, not being enthusiastic about where the Jets are and how they've built this thing. So we'll see what happens if they do make the playoffs, but if they fall short, I imagine how brutal that would be as a Jets fan.
Yeah, because the door is more open, I think, than I think a lot of us realize, and especially in this AFC. And I don't know, this defense is really fun. It's a fun team. You brought up Garrett Wilson. They just have a lot of fun players. And yeah, no, I agree. Like, it is kind of lightning in the bottle with these defenses, so you hope there's not as much drop off.
All right. Jags beat the Titans today, 36-22. Just a hell of a game by Trevor Lawrence.
Oh yeah.
I mean, just a hell of a game by Trevor Lawrence. We talked about Justin Herbert earlier today. Similar kind of idea with Lawrence maneuvering and manipulating the pocket at his size, and the ability to do that and make those kind of out of structure plays when you're 6'6". There just aren't that many guys we've ever seen who can do it like those two guys can do it. And when he's making those plays and just having that creative playmaking aspect to his game, it feels like the sky's the limit a little bit.
Yeah, he's I got a lot of stock I'm sitting on, so I'm hoping this works out. My throne of Trevor Lawrence stock. But it's watching today, it was cool. He's getting a little edge to him. He's
I like that.
I like
that because that's not really how he's wired. And so I like seeing that.
I know he's competitive because there's the clip from him in college where he's playing at like the rec gym at Clemson and he like bows up on this random student. And it wasn't like in a bad way. I've watched the clip, but it was more like he's competitive as shit, like a lot of these psycho quarterbacks are. So it's awesome. But I mean, the creativity is always what's good. Like that's what we've talked about him. It's like, okay, is he more like Mr. Efficient, or can he extend the play? He is a good athlete and he is so twitchy. The touchdown run was so awesome. The zone read, because that play should have been dead in the water. And he stiff arms the guy and leaps for the touchdown, gets up, fired up. Even before that, he had the extended play on third down where he's going up and out of the pocket, throwing to his left and putting the ball outside, catchable on the outside. It's like, oh, baby. And the Evan Ingram touchdown at the end, he signals a double move. He gave the double move on that play before the snap. So he's playing with confidence where he's going for daggers right now. It's like, hell yeah, this guy's awesome, man. He's such a good quarterback. Anyone that's like a hater on him right now, it's like, there's no potential to be. This guy is legitimately a top 8-ish quarterback right now, which is really fun when they can really shore up and they're not putting so many targets to Zay Jones and Evan Ingram and they get more talent around him.
It's funny that early in the season, it kind of seemed like the Jags were on pace to beat the best team in the AFC South.
Yeah, we got excited.
Things changed.
Yes.
And, their defense, they had a bunch of turnovers today that they rode to winning this game. And then also Trevor Lawrence playing well. The defense has been a disaster. I mean, you called the game against the Lions, you called it a snuff film, and I think that's exactly the right way to characterize it. So this Jaguars team isn't the Jaguars team we thought we were going to be watching in week 3. But when you watch the final outcome today and you think about the direction that the Titans are going, I think we may have reached a point, however winding the road, that the Jags might be the best team in the AFC South, but it's a little too late.
I know. It's like they have they're even in point differential, which is better than the Vikings. Like, it's just like, their point differential is 0. They are at 0. They are the only team in the AFC South that doesn't have a negative point differential, are the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's so unbelievable. I mean, there's so many games that they pissed away where they just did something stupid. Their record in one-score games is horrendous. I mean, it's horrendous. It's I think it might be the worst in the league in terms of the amount of one-score games they've lost. I know. It's the cardiac cats. Like that's what they just want to be. Right now, it's kind of flipping the other way, especially that Ravens game, that fourth quarter there. Like, okay, maybe some of these are going ahead. This was them adjusting in this game was really good. Like turnover turnovers help, but it's also at first, after I was watching that first quarter, I was like, Derrick Henry might run for what's Adrian Peterson's record, or what's the record again for yards in a game, because he might run for 250 on this game against this Jaguars defense. But they adjusted and they got the turnovers and they did enough against the pass. But if you have a young quarterback playing this confidently and this well, you're going to be in every game. So that's actually kind of frustrating that we might not see this team in the playoffs, because that point differential kind of shows that this team is playing the best ball in that division easily.
Yeah, I mean, they get the record in one-score games is very telling. I'm trying to find the odds right now. I believe they have like a 10% chance to win the division.
I think that's right.
And yeah, it's probably not going to happen.
No.
But with this, it's about what do things look like next year,
Yep.
and about what direction are you headed, especially on offense. And I think the direction is firmly going positively. The Titans just really does feel like one of those years where they win the division, they host a playoff game, they're heavy on, I guess it'll depend on who they play, right?
Right.
So
right now they'd play the Bengals.
Yeah. I mean, the Titans the Titans are the Bengals are a much better football team than the Titans.
Yeah.
So they will be, I think, a fairly heavy underdog if they were to play a Cincinnati team in the first round of the playoffs. And that's if the Bengals don't make the playoff or don't win the division.
Right.
We'll see what happens there. So let's talk about.
But if we could get a barn burner week 18 Titans Jaguars game, if the stars align, so that could be actually a really fun week 18 matchup.
It seems far off. I would love to see that.
But it'd be better than those Thursday night mustard uniform games that we watched when they did the color rush and like just
we get Jets Jags on a Thursday night. We get Jets Jags Thursday night, Thursday, December 22nd. We'll see if a couple days before Christmas if we want to do a live reaction to that one. I think
that could be a good one. Could be a good one.
I'll probably be down. I got nothing better to do. I know that about myself. All right. Before we get out of here, let's talk about that Bengals team. They beat the Browns today. Ravens, we're going to talk about the Monday hangover tomorrow. I don't have the Anthony Brown patience right now to talk about third quarterbacks, and it's very late. Sando and I will talk about the Ravens. They pull that one out in ugly fashion. That's all they have to do right now with Lamar out. Bengals beat the Browns today, 23-10. Seems like they did enough. I mean, T. Higgins misses most of this game. Tyler Boyd and Jamar Chase comes back, has a huge presence in their offense. Defense was fantastic against the run.
Yes.
And one of those, I want to go back and actually watch the tape and see if this number is right, because it was kind of surprising when I saw it. We talked on Thursday about how heavy of boxes they were playing against the Browns.
Yeah.
It says that they were only using heavy boxes like 43% of the time compared to like 80% or 73% in their previous matchups with Cleveland. So I'm wondering if that's actually right or if that's a true media quirk.
Maybe
because
the formation's changing for the Browns.
Something like that. And they had a 73% rushing success rate today, even with using those later boxes against the Browns. Yeah. So the defense was fantastic in what they needed to do. And then the offense does just enough. And Bengals keep on rolling.
That's exactly it. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt had 18 rushes for 40 yards combined today. That against the Browns. That's how you stop the Browns. That's how they're gonna live and die. But the Burrow is playing. I mean, the touchdown throw to Chase that Burrow threw was talk about timing and accuracy and like ball placement. Holy shit! Like Chase wasn't even ready for it. He had a couple of those. He had three runs today, 2 scrambles and a design rush, all on third down. All picked up a first down. Like Burrow is playing so well right now. I mean, I'm going to keep saying this. I'm probably pissing off a lot of fans when I say the second team all pro voting is going to be very interesting at the end of this year after Patrick Mahomes. But the last thing I want to say is even the flea flicker touchdown, they did it out of shotgun. They're tying it all together. And I love that about this team. I'm really becoming a huge Bengals fan. They're sprinkling more RPOs as well. They did that a little bit. I think they got away from it. They sprinkled in a little bit more today. But yeah, no, they find a way to win. They can win ugly. We talked about when we were starting to get high on this Bengals team. We looked at their remaining schedule. We're like, whew, that's rough. They're 3-0 so far since we had that segment. 3-0 against that tough ass schedule. And they're playing some of the best football, complete team football that anyone in the league right now.
So Trey Hendrickson broke his wrist in this game. No. It's worth mentioning. It seems like he's going to miss a few weeks.
Okay.
That's what Ian Rappaport reported. So hopefully he actually played the entire fourth quarter with a broken wrist, I think. which is absolutely insane. So
that is insane.
So he hopefully will be back because, again, I'd love to see this team at full strength. We talk about the Lions being potentially the fourth best team in the NFC. I think the Bengals are firmly the third best team in the AFC, and you could make an argument that they are right there, with the Bills and the Chiefs right now. I would hear that argument and probably not disagree with it if you wanted to say the Bengals had a real case to be maybe the best team in the AFC as things currently stand.
There's no cutoff for me anymore. It's not.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Bills, Chiefs cutoff. It's a 3 team tier, and this team can hang with anybody. There's not where they have. They're not. I think I said this the other week, and I'm going to repeat it. Is that there's no bad matchups for this team. Like they're going to be able to find a way to win against any matchup that they have the rest of the way. No, I'm with you. I think it's a 3-horse race in the AFC right now between those 3 teams.
All right. That is all we have for tonight. If you guys have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do that. If you're listening to the podcast version of this, there's a link in the description. You can click on that. We do our live Sunday recap shows on YouTube every single week. We do our Thursday reactions to the Thursday night games on YouTube. We did one last week. We'll do one this week. So
fun.
If it's a good time. We had Baker Mayfield last week. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, so CMC trade one time. We had, Justin Fields making us sad.
The YouTube channel is also where you can watch Nate's Wind the Clock. So we have a bunch of YouTube specific content that we're doing this year. So please go check that out. If you have not, please subscribe to The Athletic. Theathletic.com/football show is where you can do that. Read all of the great coverage that we have. Fantastic NFL coverage day in and day out. We will be back tomorrow with Mike Sando doing the Monday Hangover, hitting some of the games we did not hit today. Until then, really appreciate you guys listening. We'll talk to you soon.